You're listening to the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast, where we champion music of all genres, and we believe vinyl is king.
For a dying man, I feel pretty good, I feel pretty good. For a righteous man, I'll do what I should, do what I should. For a fallen man, I'll get up again, I'll get up again. For a dying man, I feel pretty good. Oh, we're born to trouble, let the sparks fly high. Born to trouble, let the sparks fly. It's alright, in the light, I see you glowing. It's alright, in the light, I see you glowing.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Blind Tiger Record Club on air. Sponsored by World Vision. I'm David Williams, and as always, I'm here with the show's co-host, Rudy Newman.
Hey, everybody.
So both the podcast and on air are sponsored by World Vision, and on both formats, we discuss albums that are either in the Blind Tiger Record Club subscription program like we did on the last show, which you can still stream at lightning100.com/blindtiger, or we discuss the monthly Spotlight album and new store editions, and that's what we're going to be doing tonight. The Spotlight album, it's just simply a release that we pick every month to showcase that's not part of the subscription program. Last month, for example, we talked about it on this show. We featured Need to Breathe's recent release, Out of Body. You know, all the music in our subscription program that we discuss on this show is on vinyl, which is all we carry at Blind Tiger Record Club. Also, all the albums that we discuss on the show have been released generally in the last 30 to 60 days on vinyl. So the show's really designed to be a discovery platform for new music on vinyl, but even if you don't collect vinyl, listen to vinyl, maybe you don't even own a record player, this is still just a great way to kind of hear about new music. Yeah. So, you know, this is the same format we use on the B.T.R.C. podcast. We also have a segment on the podcast called the LP Interview. Last week, you know, we told you about the interview that we did with Thad Cockrell discussing his recent release, If In Case You Feel the Same, which that was the B.T.R.C. Singer-Songwriter Record of the Month in August. We will have a new LP interview that's going to be launching in the next 2 weeks, so be on the lookout for that announcement. The podcast is available on all podcast platforms from Apple to Spotify, so you can really stream it anywhere, but you can also get it directly from us. You can go to blindtigerrecordclub.com, click on the podcast link at the top of the page, and you will see all of the shows from Season 3 listed there. Yep. Today, we're talking about the Spotlight album for October and several of the new additions that we've added to the store over the last month. The Spotlight album this month is the greatly anticipated reissue, an album that I've been trying to actually locate on vinyl for the better part of a year.
Probably a lot of vinyl collectors
have been doing. That's right. It's Tom Petty's iconic album, Wildflowers. And really, this release is actually called Wildflower and All the Rest, which we'll talk about what all the rest are in a moment. Along with the Spotlight album, we're going to be discussing 4 other new releases. We're going to talk about Matt Berninger's brand new release, Serpentine Prison, or Serpentine Prison.
Serpentine. Turpentine.
Tomato.
Yeah.
Actually, it should be Serpentine.
It's probably Serpentine. And it's obviously tomato.
Yes.
Duh.
What? Blitzen Trapper's new album, Holy Smokes, Future Jokes. We're going to talk about Will Butler's new album, Generations. And last but not least, we are going to talk about Nashville's very own Cordovas and their new album, Destiny Hotel. All right, Rudy, well, let's get to the show. Let's drop the needle and take a quick listen to the Blind Tiger Record Club's October Spotlight album and new store editions.
It's good to be king, if just for a
On November 1st, 1994, Tom Petty released his second solo studio album, Sans the Heartbreakers, which was his 11th overall album if you don't count any of his side stuff like Traveling Wilburys or Mudcrutch.
Yeah.
It was the instant classic Wildflowers, which was the first album released on Warner Brothers after Petty's departure from MCA, where he spent really the first part of his entire career. You know, even though this is not a Heartbreakers album, the album actually has all the Heartbreakers performing on the album with the exception of Stan Lynch. Yeah. Steve Ferrone plays drums, but he officially joined the band on the Wildflowers tour. So really, you could say it does feature all the Heartbreakers.
Yeah, they're all still here.
Petty's solo albums they're not really about distancing himself as much from the band. Like a lot of times when someone does a solo record, they want to do something completely different from what they would have done collaboratively
to
as
have
a band.
Complete control, more control over the songwriting.
Which there may be a little bit of that, but I feel like with Wildflowers as well as Petty's other solo albums, it was more about kind of the creative spirit of those albums, like being completely untethered from a group.
Yeah.
So it's more about that creative process kind of being between Petty and maybe the producer, maybe one other creative, outlet. Yeah. But then when he comes down to record it, like he wants his comfort zone back and he brings all the players back in.
Mike Campbell.
Yeah. Ben Mont's tent. Yeah. So anyway, that's what's going on with this record as well. Like I think, this album, you could argue is a little bit different from some of the, because this kind of starts more like his folk,
the
acoustic thing.
Yes, most definitely.
If anything, that's the break between that and some of the more polished albums that came out before this.
Yeah, the Jeff Lynne era produced Tom Petty.
The album peaked at number 8 on the Billboard 200. It was number 36 on the UK's OCC. It's been certified 3 times platinum in the US. The album was number 12 on Rolling Stone's Best Album of 1990s list when they recapped that decade. The song we played at the opening of this segment was It's Good to Be King. That was actually the 3rd single released off this album, and it charted at number 32 on Mainstream Top 40, and it went all the way to number 6 on Mainstream Rock. The 2nd single that was released off of this reached number 2 on that same chart, and it was the song You Wreck Me. Petty was coming off the massively successful first solo project, Full Moon Fever, which was released in 1989.
Amazing record.
Absolutely amazing record. And then right after that, he had The Great Wide Open. And through really pretty much for the last half decade, as you mentioned, producer Jeff Lynne had kind of been the producer of choice for Petty.
ELO's frontman, Jeff Lynne,
right.
In case y'all don't know.
Those albums were definitely more of that bright production style that you would expect.
Hyper-produced.
Yeah, you would expect that from Lynne. But, they were amazing records, and, they were crushing it.
This guy was the pop, connoisseur of his day, so you're probably going to get a little brighter production on the album from him.
Well, for this album, he chose the amazing producer Rick Rubin for his first,
the legend.
Yeah, so, he switches labels. He's now with Warner Brothers. He brings in Rick Rubin.
What is it about artists going to work with Rick Rubin that are already amazing, and then they work with Rick Rubin, and you're like, oh, look at all these other layers.
I think he's kind of set. I think he's just set this expectation. Well, honestly, like a lot of artists, like Tom Petty, he strips them down, which is what he does here. So Petty and Rubin really collaborated away from the band, as we mentioned before. I mean, that was really kind of the spirit of this. And Rubin, wanted to keep everything open. So these recordings are very spacious. They really showcase, in many ways, like the strength of Tom Petty's songwriting craft.
Absolutely.
This, like we said, this is kind of his folk album, and because of that, when you tack this on to the Jeff Lynne produced albums, you basically get the full range of like the Tom Petty spectrum.
Every genre that he can like write a song in is all kind of represented now at this point.
Right. When you start thinking of it, and again, when you've got Mudcrutch and the Traveling Wilburys, you think about all the stuff that he's done outside of it, you start seeing just how phenomenal an artist that Tom Petty is. Whereas before this, when you go back pre-Full Moon Fever, you pretty much have, a rock guy.
It's rock and I was about to say it's rock and roll, man. I think of Breakdown and American Girl and songs like that, where it's like those are just good rock, American rock and
sometimes
roll.
Staples of classic rock and things like that. And so, this, I think these were like, this is a really important time period for the legacy of Tom Petty. The first single, we've talked about the number 2 single, number 3 single, but the first one released off this album was really its biggest success. It was the smash hit, You Don't Know How It Feels. It went number 13 on the Hot 100. It was number 8 on Mainstream Top 40. It was number 22 on AC, and it was number 1 on Mainstream Rock.
Got that iconic harmonica.
Well, you know what song it is.
Yeah, you know what it is.
This is You Don't Know How It Feels.
Someone I used to see, but she don't give a damn for me. But let me get to the point. Let's roll another joint and turn the radio loud. I'm too alone to be proud, and you don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels to be me. People come, people go. Some grow young, some grow cold.
So Petty wrote and recorded a lot of songs for this album. It was an incredibly creative time for him, and he really ended up with too much material for the album. Rolling Stone even noted at the time that one of the problems they had with this record was the length, and that's for the songs that made it on the record. Petty, he toyed with the idea of putting a double CD out at the time. When he was
25 songs.
Yeah, because he was looking at cutting all these tracks, and so, even with his cuts, the album came in at almost 63 minutes. It was up to this point the longest album Tom Petty had ever released. It included 15 tracks, as you noted, and it did fit on one CD, but barely.
How?
So,
make it just like a 1/4 inch wider than normal CDs are, but it still worked.
Well, I just think it's an extreme gift to all of his fans now. As we still lament his passing, on this Wildflowers reissue, we get to hear some of these tracks and kind of get closer to that original release that Petty really wanted.
The way he had planned it.
Yeah. So Wildflowers and All the Rest has the original album and it's 15 tracks, plus it has 10 songs from the original Wildflower sessions, and 5 of them have never been released. So, one of those unreleased tracks went to radio just this past week to support this album's release. It was the most added and most increased spins at AAA radio right out the gate.
I was just going to ask how it performed.
Yeah,
so
it shot right up to number 23. Went from not on the chart to 23, and that's on Media Base. Billboards had not posted yet when we were recording this.
Yeah,
I have a feeling it's going to continue to soar. I think it's possible that this song could go all the way. I definitely see it, sitting somewhere in the top 10.
People hungry for new Petty are definitely getting that itch scratched, so I could see it going all the way too.
Well, this song is called Leave Virginia Alone.
Well, they chased her down the alley and over the hill to steal her will. She was hot as Georgia asphalt when the A crowd came to adore her brain. So leave Virginia alone, leave Virginia alone. She's not like you and me, she's not like you and me. You should have seen her back in the city. Poetry and jewels broke all the rules. She was high as
I mean, it's hard to believe that song has never been released, but
I miss Tom Petty.
when Petty cut that from the album, he actually gave the song to Rod Stewart, who cut it on his 1995 release, A Spanner in the Works.
What?
But this is the first time anyone's been able to hear Petty's version. So yeah, there's a video that the estate released to support this song. It's totally worth seeing if you're a Tom Petty fan, for sure. It makes the world feel a little bit like America's favorite troubadour is still with us, at least for a little while.
Yep, absolutely.
So we have a few versions of this available in the store. The basic version is a remastered triple vinyl set that contains the original album plus the vinyl that has the 10 cuts that that were not on the album. We also have a deluxe edition in our collector series section of the store. The deluxe is a 7 vinyl LP pressing.
7.
So in addition to the digitally remastered 15-track original album and the 10 songs from the original Wildflowers sessions, it includes a double LP of 15 solo demos that were recorded by Petty at his home studio, and an additional LP of 14 live versions of Wildflowers songs recorded between 1995 and 2017.
That will be awesome.
The deluxe packaging also includes a 60-page book that has an introduction by Rick Rubin. There's an essay by a journalist, that we quote a lot, David Frick.
Yep.
There's
Stone.
a complete track-by-track or rare photos and specially commissioned illustrations. It's absolutely an amazing set. It really is a must-have for any Petty enthusiast.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, there's been 2 compilations like this that have released. The other one was the American Treasure, set that the estate actually released posthumously. Yep. And I can tell you, I've never seen anyone take the care to put together packages as good as the ones that the Petty estate
his
has
family,
released.
His daughters, his wife,
yeah.
Dana.
Well, and the Heartbreakers, like everyone that is just attached to these is taking such care in releasing these amazing things that do nothing but honor Petty's work.
His legacy is in great hands.
Yeah. Well, when you're poking around the store, we also have several other Tom Petty albums, including the one I just mentioned.
Yeah.
We have the American Treasure, which is really an amazing box set as well. We have Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers Greatest Hits, which if you don't have a lot of Petty on vinyl, you definitely should grab that.
Yep. So, start there if you need an introduction.
Yeah. So head to blindtagrecordclub.com and just type in Tom Petty and look at all your options. Both the podcast and on air are sponsored by World Vision, and we are so blessed to partner with them on COVID relief efforts. Right now, World Vision is really focused on issues coming from the COVID pandemic, which include hunger, violence, and poverty. But hidden heroes are rising up, helping the most vulnerable to survive, recover, and build a better future. When you are looking for a way to help, you want to look for an organization that can really make a difference. World Vision has been doing this for 70 years all over the globe. It's the perfect way for someone to play a significant role in something bigger. All of you out there listening can be a hidden hero. Go to blindtackerrecordclub.com and click on the World Vision tab at the top of the page. Donate today. If you give, let your friends know that you are fighting the impact of COVID. Tell them that you stepped up and they can too. Use hashtag Hidden Hero to share your encouragement. Ordinary people can come together and do extraordinary things. Be a hidden hero today.
I'm blessed, got another day to breathe. I'm blessed, good health, family. Remind myself that each and every day I'm blessed.
I see the starlight through the clouds. Why won't anybody listen to me? Don't make me say it again out loud. Big star doing, don't worry, baby. Bipolar pride, swim in the tide. Keep your dead head above and your chin up. You're gonna have a pretty hard time. Without drugs, without love, total submission. I've seen a vision. Everyone's screaming. I've been daydreaming. Sorry I'm fishing without permission. Tell her I'm missing in a Serpentine prison.
On October 16th, Matt Berninger, the frontman for indie rock superstars The National, released his debut solo album, Serpentine Prison.
How they made it 20 years into being a band with him just now putting his first solo record out is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
Not that he hasn't done other stuff, but like his first true solo.
Yeah, I don't think he really had a desire to. Even with this album, when he decided to make this record, he wasn't planning on making a solo record. He wanted to do a cover album that resembled one of his all-time favorite albums, which was Willie Nelson's 1978 album, Stardust.
Yep.
That album was produced by Booker T. Jones of Booker T. and the MGs, and when we covered Jones' own release, Note by Note, in August, we played that album's version on the show of Stardust that featured Matt Berninger on
the
vocals.
Yeah, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
It was also at that time that he had just announced that he would be making a solo album with Booker T. Jones.
Yep.
As the producer. So here we are. That's right.
Come to fruition.
So it was during that process when they were meeting to do this covers record that Jones actually encouraged Berninger to develop out some of his own songs because he had played some songs that he had been touring with along with some ideas for songs that he wanted to cover, and Jones really pushed him to do his own thing.
The solo record.
So they ended up kind of focusing on his originals, and they ended up developing them out, and that's what shaped really this whole new album of original tracks by Matt Berninger.
Which is so cool, just to know that Booker T. Jones and Matt Berninger worked together on this record and another record together. It's just really cool.
Well, when Berninger announced the album, he released the title track that we played at the beginning of this segment. Yep. Then he also released another great track called Distant Axis. But the latest retail single that he released to promote this record is called One More Second.
The last time we were together, lately it feels like forever. And the way we talked last night, it felt like a different kind of fight. Baby, don't lie to me, you know that I'm believe you. Always in love with someone. If it ain't me, come on. Just give me a little more time. Give me a little bit of warning. Baby, I'm gonna be fine when I figure out where I'm going. Why can't you just tell me what you're doing here? Don't be cruel if you're leaving me. Just do it right here. 'Cause the way you looked at me this morning.
You know, Berninger gives Booker T a lot of credit for this album. He said in an interview with Record Collector that Booker T knows everything about every genre of music. He also said that Booker T, yeah. I mean, even if you just look at his production credits, you know that.
Yeah,
you know, we talked about that. When
albums all over the place, from Willie to R&B.
Yeah, from Otis Redding to country. I mean, it's crazy. Yep. But he also said that Booker T would pore over songs and lyrics. He said that he would ask him about every line and would want to know what every line meant in every song. The other thing that Booker T kind of adds to this is you hear, you know, the thing, we talked about this last time when we talked about him as well, like he's arguably the greatest Hammond B player in history of music.
I feel like easily.
Yeah, and you just hear that, like, it's almost amazing to me how much he holds back.
Subtle.
Yes, it's completely subtle. It's all over this record, and there's so many places when you think the song isn't going to kind of go
They're
to
super
a next
bare
level.
bones.
Yeah,
the acoustic or
then
piano
he comes
driven.
in with some organ part. It's so good.
Yeah. Not only that, but like Berninger brought in, you know, a lot of, you know, accomplished musicians himself, like Andrew Bird, who we've had in the club. I don't know if he's in the club, but we have his records in the store.
Right.
David Bowie's bassist, Gail Ann Dorsey, is actually featured on one of the tracks. Scott Devendorf from The National, Kyle Resnick, Ben Lands, just a lot of people.
So on top of like Booker T, it's just everybody on it is like top notch.
Yeah, it's got a lot of collaboration, just like The National is known for, you know, especially on their newer albums.
Well, I mean, and speaking of The National, I mean, if you are a fan of The National or any of, like any side thing that Matt Berninger has really done, I mean, you're going to like this album.
Yeah. His little side project that he did with, I can't remember who the multi-instrumentalist is in that band, but Elvi is a really cool and very close kind of comparison to this Matt Berninger solo stuff.
Yeah. Well, we have this album on a limited edition blue vinyl. Actually, I think it's clear blue. Yeah,
like the clear blue sky.
Yeah, so that is available in the store.
Dead Billie Jean, in the shot glass lies a quarter and a tear for every year. In the houses of the holy handed bride to be, technology. There's a right way and a wrong way here to die, and there ain't no reason why.
On September 25th, Blitzen Trapper released their 10th studio album, Holy Smokes, Future Jokes, on Yep Rock Records. Over the last 2 decades, the band has gone through a lot of stylistic changes.
It's another band that's been around for 20 years.
Yeah, but stylistically, like, they have folk, they've got West Coast art pop, country, rock, you know, psychedelic.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people kind of like lean towards that country part of their sound, you know, and like kind of identify them that way or whatever. But dude, this is a band that's like impossible to nail.
Yeah, they've also bounced around several labels, including like in they've been on indie rock labels like Sub Pop and Vagrant, which I hear those and I immediately think emo.
I did not know that they were on Vagrant Records.
Yeah, and
that is news to me. Sub Pop, yeah, I mean, I totally get that.
Well, Vagrant especially, like that's the one where I was thinking like,
weird.
well, what is this? Is this like country emo or psychedelic emo kind of? But
Vagrant has that tendency to like grab like a Paul Westerberg from the Replacements or whatever and put out their later in life stuff. So like I could see like ending up with a later album on Vagrant, but like in the earlier days of this band, that seems really like a weird mismatch, but hey, it is what it is.
I think this album's a little trippy, but really,
psych.
I do. I mean, I would put this in the psychedelic range for sure. But I still think it's one of the best albums that they've put out since their 2008 Fur, and that one. If memory serves me correctly, I think that one was on Yep Rock, but that was definitely, I would say, even had more alternative leanings.
Sure. And so, a little more like mainstream sounding rock. Yeah.
Well, and it's like you said, it's just super hard to nail these guys down sonically to really anything. There's just so much swirling around, but they still keep melodic hooks present. The mood still feels bright and kind of like uplifting. And the thing is that
there's poppy chords, there's jazzy chords, there's like there's dark sounding
stuff. The songs are 3 minutes. I mean, it's almost like pop songs,
psych pop.
Yeah,
which weird though, but like psych always kind of makes me think like I'm about to listen to a band like Jam.
Yeah,
these aren't like Jam songs, and they're also like, I mean, they don't ever like venture off.
They don't, but you feel like they could if they wanted.
Oh, I feel like everyone in this band is just waiting for like everyone to look at each other and go, "All right, 6 minutes, here we go, let's do it." But they never do, which I am thankful for. But just to say that, like, usually psych bands have like really good musicians that can write music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, like you said, they've been around 20 years. So I mean, this is they've been doing a lot of music.
Hit a groove.
The first track we played was "Dead Billie Jean." That was one of the early retail singles released to set up the album. Another strong song off this album that they also released, really as an album setup. The song called Masonic Temple Microdose No. 1. It's a really high title, so I always have trouble remembering it, but it's called Masonic Temple Microdose No. 1. I think this is probably arguably the strongest song on the record. Well, this is another one of those rock, I shouldn't say strongest, this is more in the vein of what I like with Blitzen Trapper, which is more of their alternative rock stuff. So this is Masonic Temple Microdose No. 1.
I've loved you so long I can't tell where it hurts. I broke my wrist just trying to take off your shirt.
The album is really defined by frontman Eric Erle's vocals. He's also the principal lyricist. And again, I mean, these lyrics can be a little bit out there if you really dig in on them.
Yeah, like super psychedelic, trippy, but it's got like that poetic,
Yeah, it's still good. It's just, I'm just saying, like, be prepared.
Yeah, you're going to be, you're going to be digging in. That Dead Billie Jean song is really cool because it's basically a reference to like Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, and how like basically in the afterlife, like this person is going to party with Billie Jean and Abraham Lincoln,
or Michael Jackson.
Well, Michael Jackson. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Michael Jackson and Abraham Lincoln in the afterlife, and like smoking a joint or something in like the waiting room, of life or whatever. So I thought that was really cool.
Well, if you like folk rock and psychedelic songs from the 60s, you will especially enjoy this album. I would think that's safe to say, because there's definitely a lot of, I think, even textures and sounds that you could kind of put to that decade.
I was getting a lot of different vibes, like a little Tom Petty on the last track on Hazy Morning, and then like maybe like a CSNY type of a vibe from some of it.
For sure.
You know, like
I definitely think that's a good...
the singer-songwriter, folk, you know, multi-layered vocal
But from
thing.
that 60s time frame. Like, that's
Specifically.
really,
The Laurel Canyon sound, isn't it?
A little bit of that, but I mean, I don't even know.
That's not what this is here.
But definitely guys that you would attach to that movement. Well, so, you know, we have this in a limited edition, yellow, red, and blue, so even the vinyl color is a little bit trippy.
It's a little trippy. It's a splatter, I think.
I'm tired of waiting for a better day, but I'm scared and I'm lazy and nothing's gonna change. The blood's still fresh on the ground, but I'm far and I'm safe and I will not make a sound. Confession to a lesser crime, but I'll never do the time, 'cause I was studying what to say. Something is calling in the night, but I'm keeping still beside the light. I know you're gonna come around and stand by me, but I'm tired of standing while the world's dissolving. Close my eyes, close my eyes, close my eyes, and it's almost alright. If you can understand, then come in close and hold me tighter. In my mind, in my mind, in my mind, I wanna choose the right, but you know it's hard enough to breathe.
On September 25th, the Arcade Fire's keys and multi-instrumentalist band member Will Butler released his second studio album, Generations, on Merge Records. Will is also the brother of Win Butler, who is the Arcade Fire's frontman. And as you would expect, since this is a side project, the album is not Arcade Fire. But you can.
But it sounds a little bit like it.
I think the reason that you probably feel that way is because his keys and some of the stuff he does in Arcade, it's such a part of that sound.
And I mean, his voice sounds a little bit like his brother's.
Yeah,
it does.
They are both very unique singers.
Yeah, for sure. Also, just very unique dudes.
Yeah,
in general.
Butler self-produced this album, as he did his first solo project, which came out in 2015 and was titled Policy. This one was recorded in the basement of his home in Brooklyn. So this is all in-house.
Yeah, literally.
That's true. Butler's been successful on other musical endeavors he's done outside of Arcade Fire. In 2014, at the 86th Academy Awards, Butler was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Score for the film Her, that starred Joaquin Phoenix. Right.
It was actually a really good movie.
Well, Butler has also been compared to bands like Violent Films and The Breeders.
Yep.
But I think,
alt-rock.
I definitely hear that in the music. But I think when you listen to him sing, you have to throw in the mix Talking Heads.
Oh yeah, for sure. Promised is one of the songs on this album that, like, the second that it kicks in, I hear This Must Be the Place by the Talking Heads or something. Like, I hear those vibes. I totally agree 100%.
It doesn't matter what song it is. Every time he's singing to me, when I listen to Butler, I just think it's the way that he attacks the vocal runs, the way that he even articulates his vocal.
Yep.
I just haven't heard that since David Byrne.
And it's probably where the influence is coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be a good guess.
The first retail single he released to set up the album is my favorite song on the record. It's a song called Surrender.
Remember,
I don't know.
you told me
Maybe so.
that you wanted
I don't know.
to surrender. Remember,
I don't know.
you told me
Maybe so.
you were looking
I don't know.
for something higher. Well, I remember it all, and I could tell you the truth, and I could tell what I told, but I'm so tired now, I'm so tired of sitting there thinking about you. No, child. I wish you were out of my head. Remember,
I don't know.
we were walking
Maybe so.
by the river.
I don't know.
It was freezing.
Butler really is an interesting artist. Since his last solo album, Policy, he's toured the world both as a solo artist and with Arcade Fire. The Arcade Fire released Everything Now, which was a #1 international bestseller.
2017, I think.
Yeah, he also earned a master's degree from Harvard in public policy.
A master's,
Yes.
folks.
Yeah,
On top of being a father of 3.
yes, he's which that's a job in and of itself.
That's
And
a
then
job.
he's also hosted a series of town halls where they've addressed policy issues like police contracts, prison reform, voting rights, and just several other issues that are important to him.
This whole rundown just exhausted me, just in finding out what he does in his daily life.
Well, he says this album is asking this question: what's my place in American history, and
Yep.
what's my place in American present?
Yep.
So the album is very unique. He's a very unique artist, but it's also very thought-provoking.
It is. It's got like, he's the keys from Arcade Fire, so it's got a lot of like keyboard
Right.
synthy type like driving, underneath the music or whatever, and like electronic drums. It's all programmed drums through all out. So, but it's really cool. Like his sound away from Arcade Fire is, unique in and of itself, but you see how he fits into the band
Yeah,
too.
yeah, for sure. Well, we have this album in a limited edition red and white vinyl.
Ain't afraid, I ain't afraid no more. You won't find me waiting here alone. Summer is gone, California, here I come, good Lord. Ain't afraid no more, afraid no more. Well, you met me out there in Monroe. Lies in my face like I don't already know the score. Ain't afraid no more, afraid no more. 1,000 miles from the shore. Summer is gone, goodbye Nashville, my home, not yours.
On October 16th, the Cordovas released their third studio album and second on ATO Records, titled Destiny Hotel. The Cordovas were formed here in Nashville by frontman Joe Firstman.
Yeah. And Joe has been around like for a long time, playing and writing music since he was a kid. He actually taught himself how to play piano at age 12. Was signed and recorded a solo debut on like a major label by the time he was 23. I think it was 2003.
Yeah.
And then was fronting the band, like the nighttime band for the show Last Call with Carson Daly.
Yeah.
By
And
2005.
he's in his early 20s.
He
at
had
that
to
point.
have been.
Yeah.
I think he was 23 when he cut his solo record, so that'd make him 25 in 2005, fronting the band that also had Kamasi Washington and Thundercat and Kenny Aronoff, who played with he was Bon Jovi's or somebody's drummer back in the day. I can't remember. It's not Bon Jovi, but he played drums with somebody, bigger back in the day.
Well, the Cordovas make no secret just about their love for the Grateful Dead and the band, Levon Helms. So
Great American classics.
Yeah, I think that's straight up what you get with this band. I think that you get those groups with a little bit of Nashville sprinkled in.
Yep. A little Southern, yeah.
The album was recorded in L.A. It was produced by Rick Parker, who has mixed and produced artists like the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club and Lord Huron.
Yep.
The band really relies on the melodic harmonies to carry a large part of the group's sound. They do remind me of the band when you hear Firstman's vocals out front. It's very similar to kind of like the back and forth you had with the harmonies between Levon Helm and the band.
Yeah.
And when Levon Helm would come out front, it just reminds me of Firstman's in so many ways. The first retail single that the band released to tee up the album is a song called High Feeling.
This one will get in your head.
Well, and you can hear those influences that we're mentioning, like right on this track. Additional production on this song was provided by the Black Pumas' Adrian Casada.
Yep.
And that's a name that keeps coming up for us. I think we're just going to continue to hear it more and more.
And I believe that two of the vocalists from the Black Pumas sing backing vocals.
They
on
did.
This
They
track
beefed
as well.
up the harmonies and sang backing vocals. It was Angela Miller and Lauren Cervantes. And so that's what they did to kind of beef this up and get it ready for the album teaser. This is High Feeling.
Storm waiting on the sun till the sky clears up and all the rain is done. On a lonesome road, mile after mile. When I think of you, I start to smile. You give me that high kind of feeling, and I don't wanna come down.
This album is receiving some good reviews and exposure from, editorials like Rolling Stone, American Songwriter, Billboard, NPR, a few other editorials. I think this is one of those bands that just feels immediately familiar and a little bit comforting. There's also a lot of depth to the lyrics on this album. Another group that they draw from is the Allman Brothers, and they specifically point out that band had the ability to weave deep poetry into like really incredibly accessible songs.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really what they're striving to do. They wrote over 50 songs for this album, and a lot of the ones that ended up making it on the record were some of the last ones written, almost like they had been exercising and working out the
building up to the real good stuff. Like you got to write the write the hit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think that's really cool. They went back and they wanted to be more deliberate about the lyrical focus on this album. So they didn't want to have like the normal like baby, 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 and like I want, like using those kind of like phrases that are kind of felt overused, I guess, to Joe. So they went back and basically struck any time where he had written anytime he wrote the word want or baby, and took it completely out of the album so that the lyrics would have like more of a timeless feel and stand up, to more of a general, feeling as opposed to like a specific, like, I don't know, just more deliberate in the lyric.
And that's the thing. I think it's just all deliberate. I mean, when you write that many tracks and whittle it down to the ones that make the record, I mean, that's
50 down to 10 or 11.
Yeah, it's a really good exercise. It's healthy, but it also is not done by every artist.
No.
So, this is a solid record. It's worth checking out. We have it. The album sticker says gold, but the
Gold
wax
vinyl.
looks copper to me.
Yeah.
So I think they should have called it copper.
Copper, brown.
It's copper wax.
A little dull.
Yeah. But we have that in the gold pressing. Well, that is the October Spotlight album and some of our new store editions for the month for Blind Tiger Record Club. Some of the other titles that we just added, we have the new album from the Deftones.
Ohms.
We have an album from the artist Finn Lilly that's worth checking out. Sylvan Esso has a new
Yes.
record out. Guns N' Roses has a new Greatest Hits out. And then Jeremy Ivy, who we talked about when we talked about Margot Price, because is married to her and
Yeah.
he produces, but he's got a new album out.
Curious how Guns N' Roses snuck out a new greatest hits without putting out any new songs, but
Well, if you want to find out more about any of these albums, head to blindtigerrecordclub.com and go to the homepage, and you can read about any and all of the records that we talked about on this show. You can also learn how to become a member. And if you sign up for a membership at Blind Tiger Record Club, you can pick from one of the albums that we introduced on the last show to start your membership. After that, you get vinyl delivered to your door every month. We do have international memberships, so you can join from almost anywhere in the world. All month, we are celebrating Rocktober, and we have selected rock and alternative titles to mark down through Halloween. We have all of our Tom Petty albums marked down
Yep.
on this sale, so
we got lots of Tom Petty in the store.
yeah, so we're celebrating also the release of Wildflowers as well as Rocktober. So definitely want to check that sell out and grab, if nothing else, get some Petty discounted.
Yep.
Please remember our sponsor, World Vision. Click on the World Vision button at blindtigerrecordclub.com and fight the spread and impact of COVID-19. Be a hidden hero today and donate. Send your receipt of $25 or more to vinyl at blindtigerrecordclub.com, and we will send you a $10 gift card you can use towards anything in the store. Please follow the podcast, like us, leave reviews and comments, tell your friends about the show, email Lightning100.
Yeah.
Stay up to date on all that we were doing by signing up at our email list at the website. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, but most importantly, please keep coming back. We want to thank Finnegan Bell for the use of their song For a Dying Man as our show's theme song. And we also want to thank Lewis Bryce for the use of Blessed for our World Vision spot.
Old Lou.
And thank you to Lightning 100 for always supporting local art and events and even shows like ours. Until next time, keep the wax spinning.